Now, what I did, because I'm used to working with references, I decided to look into what can we have said were there references that supported that position. So I looked at the 7 ones and evaluated them, and here's what I found. Go ahead. That none of the studies that they claim support no adverse health effects, none of the studies said anything about that at all. It's not in the documents. None of them studied people. There was absolutely no research done on people, or none of them were health studies. And all of them identified that noise was a concern. Wind turbine noise was a concern. There's been a lot of effort, and I've been following this, to discredit or to minimize Dr. Pierpont's work. And one of the things that I found quite strange is the statement that because she hadn't published in a peer-reviewed journal, that it raised questions about the validity, the scientific validity of her work. Now, I found that silly. In my publications area, I had several professional journals under my wing. We did peer review. Yes, we had a peer-reviewed journals, but we also did textbooks, and sometimes we contributed to chapters, and those can be peer-reviewed. And I have seen letters to the editor peer-reviewed occasionally. So peer review is not limited to a journal. It can be to other types of publications as well. So that particular statement doesn't really stand up. When I started on this, I had, I guess I would call selected or few references. There were some out there, but not like what's happened since early this year. And I've marked always in a color to show where the US references are. I don't have time to go through them all, and I don't have time, I haven't put up all the references, but I'll give you a snapshot of what's occurred over the last 6 or 8 months. So we have clinicians and health researchers, and some of them you'll recognize. These are the ones from the United States. We've got Nissenbaum and Pierpont and a number of others. And in Canada, the white ones, we have a lot of people. These are clinicians and health researchers also expressing concern. Keep going. Another page there. Keep going. And we have acousticians like Rick James and other references from the States and Canada saying that we have to be concerned about turbines being too close to residents. Keep going. And finally, we have authorities in Canada. I don't know much about the authorities in the States, but we have various municipalities across Canada that are petitioning the government. These are townships and so on, asking them for studies and not to put in any more turbines. One interesting one is the Ontario Federation of Agriculture has written 3 times to the government, and they represent about 38,000 families, farm families. And what's really interesting, they represent both families that may want to host the turbines and those that may not want to. So they're really trying to ensure that none of the families get affected by these. So, okay. So Dr. Pierpont, she determined in her research, this is a very good summary, who's at risk, and it can be healthy people. Barbara was absolutely really, really healthy before, and her husband before the turbines came in. And most of our survey results, many of the people were healthy. Now, it doesn't mean everybody gets sick. We're seeing not everybody gets sick. But at the same time, there's a risk factor, and we need more studies to determine what level of risk we're at. We also have people with pre-existing medical conditions, and some people get sick right away. Me, I obviously got hit just like that. Some of the symptoms Barbara experienced took months to develop, so you never know, okay? Migraine syndrome and those people that might have inner ear problems, they're very susceptible. And I have a lot of unanswered questions about kids, and because we're seeing kids in our survey, they're not able to talk or express what exactly is bothering them, but as Dr. Pierpont points out, you look at their behaviors, and usually the parents can tell that something's off. So, Okay, and Rick talked about the noise you hear as a cause, and the low frequency infrasound noise. It can attack your body. Your body will feel the results. That's probably what's hitting me. My body feels it. I can tell you how disturbing it is to have inside vibrating. I have a hard time to describe it. It's very distressing, especially the cardiac stuff. And I've been a cyclist for 60 years. You can maybe guess how old I am now. But I have raced. My blood pressure is a consistent 90/60. I have a mid-60 pulse. I shouldn't be experiencing those types of very disturbing cardiac sensations. I never have before, and as long as I'm not near turbines, I'm okay. All right. Now, I should mention in Ontario, we are having a lot of problems with stray voltage and electrical pollution. I don't talk about that here, but some of our farmers have lost their herds, and some of the stray voltage and electrical pollution has gotten into people's homes. That's one of the issues that Barbara had in her house. She had three things: the noise that she heard, low frequency, and the electrical pollution. And this is all measured. We have some people that wear rubber boots year-round to insulate to try to insulate their bodies from the electrical pollution. So that one can be a serious problem, and I think it's not well addressed. It tends to be on the back burner. So I'd like to talk a little bit about misconceptions, and I'll have to move up a little closer because I'll just go over here. One of the misconceptions asked is if turbines are noisy. And in Canada, the fact sheet that CanWea puts out says, no, they're not. That's the answer. And I looked at your AWEA fact sheet, and they note that they're generally quiet. Their sounds are very low compared to that of road traffic, etc. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But they do acknowledge that they do put out noise. Okay? But the real fact is that the medical clinicians this one is out of the United States. It's the National Institute of Health, the cardiology group, and they recognize that the wind turbine noise can increase stress, and which will increase risk of cardiac as well as cancer. As well, Dr. Hanning, he's a sleep deprivation expert in England, and he notes that wind turbine noise, he has a very good review that he's done recently. It'll cause sleep deprivation and ill health. Now, on the low frequency and infrasound, AWEA says, as Rick pointed out, there's no reliable evidence that it's a problem. And this was taken from their 2009 sheet. And the claim is because you can't hear it, it's not going to bother you, but it actually, you may not be able to hear it, but your body will sense it. The sensations to your body will occur, okay? And as well, in Canada, this is quite interesting because the same authors within 18 months changed their mind about the low frequency noise emissions from turbines. At first, in 2007, these were two authors that studied this, and they said there was no evidence of it being a problem. And then 18 months later, they admitted that there was low frequency noise coming off the turbines, but because you can't hear it, you don't have to worry about it. The other thing is NASA, that's one of your American ones, they did a really good study in wind turbine acoustics. And as Rick pointed out, you may actually be disturbed by the noise inside rather than outside. And Barbara's house, it hummed and vibrated all the time. And the body resonated as well. So this NASA investigation said that sometimes that's more apparent inside a home than outside.